change her operating system and show up in a way that got her better results. She's got a book coming out that she's going to tell you a little bit about and lead us through a few exercises in mindfulness. So if you will, please help me welcome Gillian Coutts.
Thank you, Betsy. And I must say, I feel quite pleased to be here and actually pleased to be standing in this exact spot, having not fallen down coming up the stairs. One of those things as a mindfulness speaker is that people will say, well, you're the mindfulness one, you're going to come in and you'll be godlike and you create the space. Thank you, Betsy. And someone reminded me last week that on meeting me for the first time in a leadership program that we've put together, I was down on the floor getting my papers, and he walks in and says, "Hi, wants to meet me, and I'm in the middle of doing this, and I'm on the floor doing like this," and he says, "I dropped the lot," and he's going, not so mindful. And what's been really interesting to me is some of the expectations people have of mindfulness can be around perfection. It can be about this floating above, and actually, for me, it's about feeling exactly what it's feeling like in that moment and making a choice about what I do next. So I'd like to be able to share with you today some of those experiences and what we do. But I thought we'd start with a stop. And before we do that, I'd love to check how many people in this room already have a mindfulness or some sort of reflective cultivating practice. Hands up. We're amongst friends, right? Okay, so we're going to start with a stop practice. And that is, I'm going to invite you just for a moment to stop. You may close your eyes or not close your eyes, whatever works for you. But to silence the inner autopilot, and to just tune in to whatever's going on for you right now. Noticing sounds, sensations, maybe smells, temperature. Also checking in with your tone, emotional tone, and what might be going on in your mind. Is it busy and lots of energy, feeling tired, looking forward to lunch? Any and all of those can be present in any moment. Taking a deeper, longer breath. And opening up to the possibilities that might exist in that wide focus that Jennifer talked about, this present moment. And when you're ready, let's proceed. So we do this practice, it's called stop practice, as part of a leadership program we're running at the moment that people will sit with me and say, I am so busy, I don't have time to pee. And those sorts of comments, and it almost becomes this discussion amongst the group about who's the most busiest, who's had the most urinary tract infections as a result of not being able to pee. You're like, why is this a badge of honour? Why is this a badge of honour? And as we kind of dig into that, this sense, people will talk about the VUCA world, the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, as if it's this world out there. Right? It's this abstract concept that is easy to intellectualise and easy for them to say it's out there and I'm here, let alone what's volatile and uncertain and complex inside, but they're not there. But what they do experience, they'll talk about this experience of being pressured by this world, of constantly feeling, whether it's from their family, from key performance indicators, from whatever it is that's driving them, they feel this sense of pressure. And with that, a sense of always being on. So whether it's by phones, and you may feel that the same, that sort of almost a sort of action addiction that you want to just get your phone out every time you've got a spare space because you need to check and see what's going on. So a sense of always being on, always being connected. And at the same time, with that coming information, almost a sense of information overload. There's so much coming at them and so much. And even in the programs that we run, this idea of getting feedback, which is brilliant, and can become information overload, because what do I do with it? I'm so distracted by everything that's going on, all of these different things. I was really interested in hearing Ian talk about wanting to be able to let the debate, and not squash the debate too early, to let it roam. And my question is, and Ian seemed really effective at that, my question for some of the guys I'm working with at the moment is, what does it feel like for you the first moment that you want to squash it? How can you get to that? How can you get such a great acuity so that the moment that you notice that inside your belly when you think, I need to squash this, we can stop that before you've raged into that, no, this is not working, I need to do something, and you're so far down this emotional or thought track that it takes too long to stop. So how can you catch it when it's early? So my question for you, thinking about this pressured, always on, environment, information overload, constant distractions, how does that resonate for you? And what mental qualities might help you thrive rather than just survive in that kind of world? I'd like you to take just 2 minutes, talk to the person next to you. What is it? Does any of that resonate for you, or are you the swimming goddess of god of mindfulness? And what mental qualities do you see as being really critical to really thriving in that world? Go for it. A couple of minutes. All right, so when you're ready, I'm channeling my inner Jennifer, my inner Keith. So coming back to the group, I'd love to hear a couple of suggestions on mental qualities that you see as being really pertinent for thriving in this VUCA world, this pressured, always on information overload and distraction. Yeah.
Just learning to stay even when it feels really uncomfortable.
Yeah, great, Paul. Learning to stay even when it feels uncomfortable, for sure. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
Putting boundaries around work so I'm actually not
Fantastic. Putting boundaries around, being able to make decisions and priorities around what matters now. Yep. And stick to them. Yeah, turning the phone off. Fantastic. Thank you. Brilliant. Yes. Managing your breath. Yep. Yeah. 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 And remembering to do that in the heat of the moment, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Over here. Yes. Being forgiving. Yeah. Yeah. Being able to turn your thoughts away from the Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So noticing, fantastic. Those qualities of being able to, of awareness. And it's a really interesting journey to go on with leaders around how do you develop this awareness, because sometimes people will say, well, no, they've got it, or they haven't, and it's kind of binary, but actually I think our experience and our collective experience is that it can be trained. And a really interesting example for us, so the Potential Project is an organisation that works in 20 countries and has a number of clients in Europe, and particularly a large financial institution. And a couple of years ago, following the GFC, they started working with a CEO of one of the organisations there. And his experience was, post the GFC, extremely volatile market environment, his own experience of his work and how he showed up as a professional in the financial services market also had changed for him. So he had this kind of uncertain experience of, am I where I need to be? It was completely ambiguous as to what was happening with the organisation and where its direction was going. So he's in this kind of really VUCA world. And for him personally, 300 emails a day, complaints from his senior leadership team about not being present in one-on-ones, about the effectiveness that he had. So he sort of wanted to find he tried lots of different things and wanted to try something that would enable him to really get present. And so we did a mindfulness leadership program with him and his team. So that involved sort of meeting once a week for 8 weeks for about an hour, and then follow up at week 12 and week 16. So about 4 months of program together. But what it also involved was 10 minutes a day of this focused concentration practice and open awareness, which some of you might already be familiar with. And if you're not, we'll do one in just a moment. But he had this investment of time that he had to do every day for 10 minutes. So he's done that. And after 6 months, the team went back to him and said, right, you've had this time, 10 minutes a day, huge investment in the program in terms of your time, and want to know what you got out of it. So what did you get out of it? And he says, I got 1 second. And they go, oh, bugger. That doesn't sound good. But he said, you don't understand. Actually, what I got is 1 second of space to choose. 1 second of space to choose when things happen to me, what's my response going to be? Rather than sitting in my reactions, my habitual responses, I've got 1 second of choice between when things occur and what happens. Now, clearly it's a metaphoric 1 second, but what he was really talking to is that capacity to choose, the capacity to choose what's important to me but now. Where am I in my boundaries? And not just react automatically because the phone's rung after hours. The choice to be able to be aware and remember to be aware in those moments, rather than just going, that's something I'd really like to be able to do, but never quite actually happens. He had that experience. And the practice he did in its initial stages was this, a basic mindfulness training practice. And we use it in a very simple sense of A, B, C, D. And the A is standing for anatomy, B for breathing, C for counting, and D for distractions. So are you up to have a go with me while we do it together? Yeah? We'll do a 5-minute practice before we finish up. So I will lead you through it. But my first invitation is to actually get comfortable. So you might want to put your books on the ground. You might also I'm not multitasking. Well, actually, I am multitasking. Hang on. I'm just setting my timer so we could all relax and forget about time. So I'm going to ask you to find a grounded balance. Your feet flat on the floor if you can. Your sit bones equally weighted in the chair. A straight but relaxed spine. Your arms gently on your knees or in your lap in front of you. And I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. But if you don't, that's fine. Just have them softly focus, perhaps 45 degrees in front of you. And when you're ready, take a couple of deeper, longer breaths, all the way in and all the way out. And when you're ready, I invite you to bring your awareness to the experience of your breath in your belly, the rise and fall. Focusing on the physical sensations, anything you perceive. And letting your breath return to just a natural rhythm. And as best you can, avoiding any need to control it. Just observing it neutrally. I'm going to ask you to focus on that breath. If it helps to keep focus, you might like to try counting at the end of each out-breath. 1, in, out, 2, all the way up to 10. And when you get to 10, turn around and count back to 1. And if at any point you notice your mind wanders away from the breath, not a problem. Just relax. Release whatever it is that's captured your attention and bring your awareness back to the breath. Again, noticing where your mind is right now. And if it's wandered away from the breath, caught up in sounds or thoughts, feelings, just relax. Release whatever it is that's captured your attention and bring your awareness back to the breath. And in the final moments before the bell goes, just noticing how you feel right now, tuning in. And when the bell goes, you can bring yourself back to the group when you're ready. So, in that practice, which was very short, but there's really 3 key skills I feel we train in that activity. The first is this capacity to hold stabilised attention on something, the capacity to focus, which is incredibly useful when you're dealing with a whole lot of information, a whole lot of stuff coming at you, distractions. How can you hold stabilised focus for what matters, be that at work or at home? The second core skill that you're training, though, is the capacity to notice when you're not focused, which is actually incredibly useful. So that idea of being able to have this meta-awareness of just observing exactly where is my attention right now. Is it where I choose it to be? What's the quality of the conversation I'm having in my head right now? Is that what I choose it to be? Where do I choose to place my attention? And at the moment you've made those choices, to be able to, the third skill is to be able to let that go and bring it back to what you choose as your point of focus, which can be incredibly useful at 3 o'clock in the morning when you've woken up with something on your mind. The capacity to literally put that weight down, which I personally would never have thought was trainable, but actually it is. So the ability to be able to restabilise is really important. So those really key skills, this sense of being able to slow down in order to speed up, to give yourself that moment of choice, so that when you find these reactive tendencies kicking in and dialing up, that you get the choice, that 1 second, taking it to step back in and make a creative choice. That's what this exercise gives you as power. And it starts with the breath. And it starts with just this step. And on that note, that's a wonderful place to finish. I'll hand back to Betsy. Thank you.